Alright, welcome to class, everyone. Today, what we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do, it's going to be based on discussion and it's going to be based on asking questions. So I really want you guys involved in what we're doing and just like, feel free to ask questions at any time and just like, that's what we want to like facilitate in the class today. Okay? So to start off, what we're gonna do is watch a video and we're just gonna learn a little bit more about the power of the mind and why we're doing this kind of lesson today. Okay. All right. No? Okay, that's all right.
For years, scientists believed that the brain was static, unchanging, and locked, but our understanding has changed drastically to the point where we now see the brain as plastic and constantly changing. But what if I told you that simply thinking could affect not only the way your brain works, but its physical shape and structure as well? It turns out this is exactly what happens. From a neuroscientific standpoint, imagining an action and doing it require the same motor and sensory programs in the brain. For example, if you were to close your eyes and imagine the letter B, the primary visual cortex lights up in the same way it does when you look at the letter on the screen. Take a moment and imagine yourself writing out your signature with your dominant hand. Chances are, the amount of time it takes you to simply imagine doing it is similar to how long it actually takes to write it out. Try doing the same thing with your non-dominant hand and it actually takes you longer to write and imagine. How is this relevant? Well, because imagination and action are actually integrated and engage the same neural pathways, practicing one actually influences the other. One fascinating study took two groups and had them practice piano for 2 hours a day, except one group was only allowed to use mental practice. They couldn't touch the piano, but would sit in front of it and imagine practicing. The surprising result? The exact same physical changes took place in the motor cortex of both groups. And after 3 days, their accuracy in playing was the exact same. Beyond 5 days, the physical practice group did begin to excel faster, but the imagination group, when given the chance to practice physically, was able to catch up to their skill level quickly. Perhaps more incredible is an experiment which used imagination in an effort to strengthen muscles. Both groups did the same figure muscle exercises for 4 weeks, though one group simply did it mentally. Those who actually did the physical exercise increased their strength by 30%, while those who imagined doing it increased their muscle strength by 22%. This is because the neurons responsible for the movement instruction were still being used and strengthened, resulting in increased strength when the muscles actually contracted. So, while your thoughts don't have some mystical or magical power, mental practice is an effective way to prepare for a physical skill. Each thought actually changes the structure and function of your brain by affecting the neurons at the microscopic level. Though, as much as we wish you could sit there and become the next Mozart, it won't happen without a lot of hard physical work. But a little imagination never hurts. This episode of ASAP Science is supported by Audible.com.
Alright, so, let's see. Let's put this back up. Okay, so the reason I had you guys watch this video is because this is what we want to do in our class today. We want to really extend our mind, and I want to show you guys how powerful it can be once you do that. And so we are going to be talking about science, technology, and society and the relationships of that in the classroom. And so I have our 2 objectives up here. And so, Amy, would you be able to read number 1 for me, please?
Evaluate 3 significant relationships in science, technology, and society.
Alright, and Kelly, can you read 2?
Provide examples of how relationships impact one another.
Alright, perfect. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be basically having a very extended group discussion, but also I want you guys thinking super deep about these relationships and try to like push regular boundaries. Okay, so to start, we're going to talk about technology. So when you hear the word technology, what kind of things do you think about? So you guys can just tell me, what do you guys think about when I say the word technology? What are some things?
Computer.
Computers. Okay.
Cell phones.
Yeah.
Fast.
Pardon?
Fast.
Fast.
The cloud.
Ooh, the cloud.
The cloud.
Okay, what else? Technology.
Wi-Fi.
Expensive.
Expensive.
21st century.
Mm-hmm. Alright, anything else?
Revolution.
Revolution. Okay, other things? Alright, next question. When do you think technology began? So what I want you to do is turn to your partner, you guys can be partners, and I want you guys just to talk a little bit about when you think technology began. Okay? So you have 2 minutes and then we'll discuss.
Einstein. Einstein.
I feel like it's.
The scientist. Is,
I feel like people years ago probably had their own. Oh, this is tough. Like
But
some
when
you
the-
know this.
when the scientists
That were like
started to
you know what I
invent
mean? Like
Yeah.
some
they always had some sort of
new machines.
like yeah, I think you need to find like what
Yeah.
exactly is technology.
Like,
I always think of something.
when I was a little child,
Like,
there
I know.
there were not
computer. You
that
know what I
much
mean?
technologies.
Is he back?
It's just
Now, like,
I think
you're doing a book
the-
on it,
there's
like,
like the
printing press.
technology
That's like
computer and stuff.
Exactly.
But there's also like the solution for technology where it's like anything.
I
mean,
Oh.
and so like
I
I want to
mean,
go back.
you want to go there? I mean,
Before.
Kingdom times where
Shoot.
it was like,
That
I have this.
yeah, hold up, crying out loud. Where's my
thing
thing?
that's
That's
totally
so
better.
True.
So then like technology,
How they built the ship.
Not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Fools. Like,
Alright,
Yeah.
you guys
Crazy
can start
things.
wrapping up your discussion. Okay.
Adam and Eve. That's what it started.
So, alright, one person from your group, Amy, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys spoke about when you were answering this question?
So we,
So lots of things that you guys discussed.
like, we think that technology began really in old days. From the old days, it started
Yeah.
because we think that technology is not only for the machine or thing that we have now,
Yeah.
but also people can think that, oh, that one helps me to do something better, or
Okay.
for them it could be technology.
Yeah, exactly. So things that help, right? And so we're not just talking about iPhones or like a MacBook or whatever. It's more than that. What did you guys talk about?
Kind of like the same, like how it wasn't just wires and like how we think it is.
Yeah.
Technology back then was just how to get something done, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Okay, perfect. So you guys are so on top of it that you got the next part. So we're gonna look at the definition of technology. So technology, like you guys were saying, is not just like something that has wires or electronic or anything like that. So Lou, can you read the definition for technology right here, please?
Yes. Any invention, including tools, machines, materials, and sources of power that make people's work easier.
Alright, good job. So, I want you guys to extend your thinking and think deeper now. So we did discuss this earlier, but now when I ask you what is technology, even today, what would you guys maybe change your answers about? So we have things like computers, Wi-Fi, the cloud. Keeping this definition in mind, what are some things that is considered technology that we have?
Like almost anything can be considered technology.
Yeah.
Like a pencil.
A pencil. Yeah.
I think it could also be person,
Mhm.
like tutor.
Mhm.
They help us to do something easier.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or teacher could be technology.
Yeah. What do you guys think in this group?
Yeah, I think anything, I mean, Kelly taught a lesson once about like pull machines. So I listened about like levers and wheels
Yeah.
and how so much of what we use has those things.
Yeah.
Like that basic unit of just like a lever.
Yeah.
So like any little thing like that. There's so many things that you don't really think about, I guess.
Exactly. All right. Perfect. Okay. So you guys, what I'm gonna have you guys do is do a little bit of research. So we presented a problem, and the problem or the question is technology. And what we want to do is we want to look at the significant relationships that science has with technology and also with society. And so I'm going to give you guys some materials, some research materials, and I want you to push it a little bit further, and we're going to inquire about technology and more about the relationships. So you guys are each going to have your own kind of little paper. Let's roll this, right? So you're going to have medieval to early modern, industrial revolution. You're going to do 20th century and then ancient times. It's broken up, you don't have to do. Just kind of like scan. What I did is I underlined some key ideas within the text. So just take a look at them, and then once you're done looking over it, turn to your partner and just kind of discuss some of the topics that were mentioned in the text that you were given. So this is just a way that as students you can research more into the topic. So you guys have about a few minutes to do that, and then turn to your partner and discuss. You don't have to read the whole thing, you can like skim. Alright, so now in like the next minute or two, I want you to turn to your partner and maybe talk about some of the key things that stood out to you in what you were reading in your article.
Well, something that stood out to me was the
technology.
technology kind of develops as like ideas and develop for according to needs. So like in times of war, I feel like they really tried to make more technology that would help
There
them.
were invention of electronic
With that.
computing and jet engines.
Or like something else talks about like the age of exploration. So when people started getting more curious about exploring and like traveling, they improved sailing ship. You know what I mean? The sails and like how
Some
it
of
works.
the important technology
So I thought
developments
that was interesting.
in 20th century, they had automobile, airplane,
To develop,
electronics, radio, television, computers, telephone. Internet. All of these are about communication and transportation. transportation.
Iron Bridge.
It was really amazing.
Steam engine,
In 20th century and 21st centuries,
you know, just sewing machines.
like 3D
So just how to make
printing,
things become better,
nanotechnology,
or I guess it's like how to get to places.
biotechnology,
More
those
efficient.
stuff
More
were
efficient, yeah.
really cool issue. Yeah.
But in ancient times, there was like some machines, the art. So you can
Really
build
like what
iron
you
buildings
said
and all
about like
that.
I never thought about it.
Writing on
They just whatever they needed, they just
Yeah.
made it up.
matches.
I mean like
So like we're curious about going to like
yeah, and it
how to do
gets
that.
more complicated too because we already have things, so we want things that we don't have. So it's
Yeah,
pushing
it's
it.
gotten more complicated because our ideas are bigger. I
And
think.
then like, the rumors.
So true.
It's interesting.
I can't say that word right now.
What is it?
Agriculture.
All right, awesome. So, we're gonna do. I want you guys just to kind of not present, but maybe help us understand a little bit more about your time period. Some like maybe 2 key things that happened within that period, and I also want you to kind of tell me why this was significant. So what does this have to do with science and what does it have to do with technology or society as a whole? So why was this a significant development? Why should we understand more about this? All right? So Megan, can we start with you?
Yep. Mine talks about medieval to early modern, so Renaissance, age of exploration. And what I noticed is that things developed as people's ideas developed, or as they had like more curiosity or needs. So one thing was like if there was war, they started to develop better armor, better machines, like what was it, cannon, crossbows, things like that. And then as they were more curious about exploring, they improved like ships and better ways to travel. And it talks about how during this time there's Christopher Columbus and things like that, which are significant advances in technology and like discoveries that we have. Those are some pretty big discoveries during that time.
And how do you think that affected society, especially with the people that you were just mentioning?
I think it probably kind of opened up their mind or their ideas that there's more out there. You know what I mean? It kind of just like broadens your perspective on things once they figure out there's somewhere else besides this land that we're standing on.
Yeah.
That there's more
And
that
if
we can do.
exactly, and if it wasn't for people like Christopher Columbus or other explorers, then we wouldn't have reached other parts of the world, discovered what they were doing at that time, and probably improved technology because of that. Because once you interact with people, you can share ideas and develop things. Okay, Ulu, can you go next?
So mine's about the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution is more about developments of areas of textile manufacturing, mining, and transport driven by the development of the steam engine. So some of theirs was like the Iron Bridge and of course the steam engine. The 19th century was more about transportation, construction, manufacturing, and communication technologies. So some examples are the steamboat, the railway transportation, telegraph, the light bulb, firearms, so like guns and stuff, and parts, even sewing machines. So it started to pick up more about what, like, I guess, how to make things more efficient and more productive, I guess.
Yes. All right, so I have a question for you. How do you think transportation changed society?
Everything. Yeah, because all people do is either use a car, skateboard, bike, plane. There's so many ways of transportation to get to where you need to be. And so, like bus, it's, yeah.
And another thing is, it allowed people to extend their network. You don't have to work on a farm in your backyard anymore. You can work downtown. You have a little more options. And so it definitely opened up commerce. It opened up a lot of things that improve society. All right. Kelly, would you be able to go next? Yours is kind of going back in time, but it's
I
still.
have ancient
Mhm.
times, and a lot of it is pretty much just like the foundation for what we have. So there's like a lot.
Yeah.
So the Egyptians, they started with some machines. The Chinese helped. They did a lot of discoveries and developments. And then Greek did improvements of technology that was already existed, and like the Romans made the like advancements in agriculture. And Inca and Mayan influenced the engineering skills.
Yes.
So there's a lot within each of those, but those are like the ones that they
Yeah.
focused on.
So how do you think that this helped these other different times in technology that we were talking about?
So like these were like the more simple version, and like they couldn't have had like those things without
Mhm.
these. So like if you don't have, like so the Egyptians did simple machines. So if you don't have a wheel, you can't have a train.
Yeah.
So they're
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Amy.
So mine is 20th centuries and 21st centuries. So in 20th centuries, there were many new technologies invented, like irrigation and transportation. So, for example, there were automobile, airplane, electronics, radio, television, computers, internet, and all of these are invented in 20th century. So I think it was huge changing. It brought huge changes in our society. And also 21st centuries, people invented 3D printing machines, nanotechnology, gene therapy, alternative fuels, like hybrid cars and LED stuff. So I think these are all influenced on our society in a good way and also in a bad way.
Okay, so I have a question for you. How does the science and technology of alternate fuels influence society?
Like air pollution was one of the big issues in global warming. So for the alternative fuels, it could help us to keep our environment more clear.
Yeah, good job. All right, thank you. Okay, so for the last part of the class, what we're gonna do is have a little discussion. And so I'm gonna join you guys. We're just gonna have like an open discussion. And we're just gonna talk about these two questions. They both say number one, but that's okay. We're gonna talk about these two questions, so I'll read the first one. So we're gonna talk about the issues of computers and the fact that there's artificial intelligence. And so these computers that think on their own. So what would be the advantages of this level of computer intelligence and what would be the disadvantages? Okay, so I'm gonna start off our discussion. I was on Amazon the other day, and have you guys heard of the Amazon Echo? No? Okay, so it's like this little tower thing. It's kind of like Siri, but a lot more sophisticated. And it just sits in the middle of the room, and you can be like, Echo.
Is it like a circle thing like this?
Yeah, it's like a
I
cylinder.
think I've seen a picture of it
iPhone.
on Amazon, but I haven't.
No, it's just like a little thing that sits there, and you can be like, can you play me this song by this person? And it has access to the internet. So, I mean, Siri can do that, but you can also have like, say like you have automatic lights, you can be like, can you turn on the lights in the kitchen, please?
Wow.
Or can you set the alarm for
Wow.
this time? Yeah,
Is it
so
work?
it's, Yeah. And so like I was reading this review and this guy, he had like MS and so he couldn't do a lot of things, so he bought it and he bought all the things that go along with it, so it can turn on the lights, turn on the TV, change the channel, like all this stuff. And like order things, can you fill my prescription for this or whatever. So what do you think the advantages of that technology is?
You can slave.
Advantages.
All of it?
Yeah, we'll talk about those. Or,
can help.
yeah, a disadvantage is
Comfortable advantages. Really
comfort. Yeah, exactly.
Saves time if you're like, you have a party going on.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
can help the disabled.
Yeah, like the story
That's
with the guy with the MS. Yeah. So that helped him a lot. Anything else? Advantages. All right, what about disadvantages?
You can be lazy.
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 I feel
Like,
like
yeah.
it would be easy for someone to like hack into
To
You
use
put
it.
an iRobot.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Company
protection.
it. Like
Yeah.
your information, like you said, you order a prescription,
Mhm.
so like someone like they would need to have some sort of medical record.
Yeah, or like card information or whatever.
Like I think later on we're not gonna meet anyone
Mm-hmm.
like outside of the online because I'm gonna send my robot to go
Yeah.
out and meet the person instead of me.
Yeah.
Is it like trained to hear just your voice? Or you don't need to respond to like a personal voice or just to any voice?
I don't know, but I know that Siri can do like respond
On
to
the
your
six,
voice
yeah.
or whatever, and like I don't know.
That could help with some stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It gets the lines kind of get blurred. I'm watching this show called Person of Interest. Have you guys watched it? Okay, anyways, there's this huge AI machine, artificial intelligence, and it's like watching everyone. It's like, and it can predict like malicious behavior, so it like stops terrorist acts and stuff. But it thinks for itself, and so there's issues with machines that like think for themselves. But yeah. All right, number 2. How would your school be different if there were no computers?
Not imagine.
Everybody would be at the library.
Yeah.
Reading books.
Mhm.
way. Carrying books.
Yeah.
Like I think today, like even class, like homework and like everything is centered around computer. So like the teachers would have to revert back to like giving you one paper and like telling you what your homework is.
Having to collect it.
And
Yeah.
collecting it and we'd use a lot of paper.
Yeah, so the environment, we use a lot more paper. Another thing is like Turnitin probably helps teachers a ton, so they don't have to literally read. I'm sure they read our papers, but technology helps them in that way. Okay, so what different parts of the school, we kind of talked about it, but has technology? Like Canvas. Where else do we use technology within the school system?
Testing.
The testing center, they have a lot of stuff.
Registrar has all like student information.
Databases.
Why you work day?
Oh yeah, the new, yeah, so you no longer have to go to the machine and literally,
Yeah, and I can
These would be
change
different.
the time.
yeah. What else? How else do we use technology on campus?
To get into the calf.
Yeah. Fingerprint. I
Yeah,
felt like
right.
it was really weird the first time I got here. Another thing, key cards.
Yeah.
Like that was also something that was super different for me. Like you don't have a key; it's all electronic. Okay, so discuss how work would be done if you didn't have computers. So we're in finals week, So if you didn't have your computer, if you didn't have your phone, if there was no Canvas, how would that change Finals Week?
You have to write all those
Yeah.
papers by hand.
It's a lot. Yeah, or a typewriter.
And I should meet my friends like face to face whenever I meet them. I need to visit their dormitory.
Yeah,
And the professor, you have to go visit the professor more often.
if you had a question or, something was missing. But yeah, it would definitely be a lot more difficult. I also think that maybe in some aspects it would be easier, do you think? How would it be easier?
Without computers?
You don't have to worry about like technology like messing up or whatever. Or like you don't have to like go to the library to print out something. You can just
You don't have to save your work every.
It just comes out of your typewriter. I was thinking of like distractions. So technology could also be a distraction away from your work. And so that's like another way that it maybe hinders the process. All right, so we had an excellent discussion. Thank you for participating. So for our last exit activity, I want you guys to write down on a piece of paper and you don't have to actually. And I want you guys to come up with a hypothesis. So I want you to hypothesize about the relationship between science and technology. For example, how technology has improved our life and how it's going to continue, or maybe how it might be a hindrance, or what do you think, how do you think the relationship between science, technology, and society is going to continue forward? All right, so you guys can write that down and then hand it to me on your way out. All right, thank you for participating.